When two stars collide, the result is rarely just light. Sometimes it's a supernova. In the universe of Chinese entertainment, few duos have left as unforgettable a mark as Zhan and Wang Yibo. Individually, they shine with their own brilliance. Zhan, the warm smile that melts hearts, and Wang Yibo, the cool enigma whose silence says more than words ever could. But when they appeared together, especially during the whirlwind era of the Untamed, their chemistry didn't just spark, it ignited a fandom that would rewrite what on-screen synergy truly means. Their interviews together are now legendary. Each one is dissected, replayed, slowed down, analyzed frame by fans who swear they can spot every micro-expression, every stolen glance. But what made their interactions so mesmerizing wasn't just what they said, it was everything they didn't say. It was the laughter that came a second too early, the gaze that lingered just a moment too long, the quiet understanding that seemed to bridge every word. Let's dive into those unforgettable interviews, those subtle, electrifying moments that fans still talk about to this day, the kind that made millions fall in love not just with the Untamed, but with the magic between Zhan and Wang Yibo themselves. The beginning of the storm. It all started during the press tours for the Untamed. They were everywhere: press conferences, talk shows, fan meets, game segments. From the very beginning, there was a rhythm to how they interacted, like a secret language built on glances and smirks. In one of their earliest joint interviews, the host asked, "What was your first impression of each other?" Zhan smiled, that signature gentle laugh bubbling out. "I thought he was quiet, really quiet. But then I realized, he's just observing." Wang Yibo, ever the man of few words, simply nodded and replied, "He talks a lot." The crowd laughed, but fans noticed something else. The way Zhan turned his head toward him, smiling, unoffended, amused. And Wang Yibo, who rarely smiled publicly then, had that faint upturn at the corner of his lips. It wasn't a practiced celebrity grin. It was real, the kind that flashes before someone catches themselves. That's how it began. Teasing and understanding. Warmth meeting coolness. A balance that felt almost written in the stars. Moments between words. As the promotional cycle continued, Zhan and Wang Yibo's comfort around each other grew. In one variety show segment, the cast was asked to compliment one another. Zhan turned toward Yibo and said, "He's very dedicated. He focuses on everything he does, writing, dancing, acting. It's admirable." Wang Yibo's expression didn't change much. He just lowered his eyes and replied softly, "He works hard too. He doesn't complain." Fans still replay that clip because of what happened next. Wang Yibo's foot nudged Zhan's under the table, a blink-and-you'll-miss-it gesture, but the camera caught it. Zhan looked surprised, laughed, and continued as if nothing had happened. That single second became one of the most talked-about moments in their fandom history. To outsiders, it was nothing. But to fans who had been watching every detail, it was everything: a silent thank you, maybe, or a playful enough praise. Whatever it was, it carried more weight than 1,000 scripted compliments. The legendary red carpet moment. Award shows are always grand, but the one that featured Zhan and Wang Yibo standing side by side under the flash of hundreds of cameras? That night became iconic. They walked in step, perfectly synchronized, not because they practiced, but because that was just how they moved together. Wang Yibo, usually reserved, subtly angled himself toward Zhan when the crowd screamed his name. And Zhan, without even looking, adjusted his stance to face Yibo. When the photographers shouted for them to wave, Zhan's hand brushed Yibo's for a fraction of a second, a ghost of a touch. Fans clipped it, zoomed in, slowed it down to half speed. The internet lit up. In that brief gesture, they saw unspoken camaraderie, a bond forged from shared struggle and success. Afterward, in a backstage interview, when asked how they felt about the fan reactions to their partnership, Wang Yibo's answer was short but unforgettable: "They see what we see." Zhan's reaction, a stunned laugh and a soft, "Oh," became a meme, but also a mystery. What did they see? The interview that broke the internet. There's one interview that will forever be etched in fan history, the one where they were seated side by side, wearing contrasting outfits, Zhan in white, Wang Yibo in black, yin and yang, perfectly balanced. The host asked them to describe each other in one word. Zhan thought for a second and said, "Cool." Wang Yibo glanced sideways and replied, "Warm." 2 words, opposite in meaning but complementary in essence. The fans exploded. It was poetic, simple, and so perfectly them. Later in that same interview, the host joked about their popularity together. "Do you ever get tired of being mentioned in the same breath?" Wang Yibo shook his head.
No.
"It's part of the story now." And Zhan smiled quietly, replying, "A good story." That clip still circulates to this day, because it wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't polished PR. It was genuine acknowledgement of a connection that transcended a TV show. The game show laughter. Another unforgettable moment came from a lighthearted game show appearance. The two were on opposing teams but ended up helping each other cheat, or as fans like to call it, cooperate silently. At one point, Zhan tried to suppress a laugh as Wang Yibo pretended not to know the answer. But when Zhan started whispering hints under his breath, Wang Yibo cracked a smile, the kind of smile that lights up a room. When the host caught them and teased, "You two are teaming up again, aren't you?" they both burst into laughter like kids caught sneaking candy. The clip spread like wildfire online because it showed them not as polished idols, but as friends, mischievous, comfortable, effortlessly in sync. Even their laughter matched. Zhan's bright and clear, Wang Yibo's low and rare, but when it came, it was real. Fans called it the harmony laugh, a moment when their laughter seemed to echo each other's rhythm. The quiet glances that spoke volumes. Some of the most iconic fan moments didn't even involve words. Like that award stage where Zhan was speaking and Wang Yibo stood slightly behind him, eyes focused, quietly smiling. Not the loud kind of support, the subtle kind that says, "I've got your back." Or that backstage clip where Wang Yibo handed Zhan a bottle of water without looking, and Zhan accepted it naturally, no hesitation. It was the kind of small, automatic gesture that comes from familiarity iced. Before the Untamed conquered screens across the world, before hashtags trended and fan cams flooded every feed, there was a quiet beginning. A press room filled with flashing lights, laughter echoing through microphones, and 2 young stars who didn't yet realize that history was already being written. When Zhan and Wang Yibo sat side by side for their first joint interviews, no one could have predicted the impact. On paper, they were opposites. Zhan, radiant and easygoing. Wang Yibo, cool, restrained, and mysterious. Yet the moment the cameras started rolling, something clicked, an energy that wasn't rehearsed, a rhythm that seemed to come from instinct. The first question was simple. What were your first impressions of each other? Zhan laughed, that warm, open kind of laughter that seems to light up a room. He's quiet. At first I thought he didn't like to talk, but then I realized he's just thinking. Wang Yibo tilted his head, expression unreadable, then replied, "He talks too much." The audience burst out laughing, but the best part wasn't the joke. It was the tiny smile that flickered across Wang Yibo's face afterward, almost as if he was secretly pleased by Zhan's attention. Zhan looked at him with that amused, patient look that fans would come to recognize, half exasperated, half fond. That exchange lasted mere seconds, but it became the spark that lit the fandom's fire. Replayed, clipped, and analyzed, it revealed everything about their dynamic. One reaching out with warmth, the other responding with subtle playfulness. 2 opposite forces, colliding, connecting, and creating something rare. As the promotional tour continued, the chemistry only deepened. During one interview, the host challenged them to describe each other in 3 words. Zhan thought seriously before saying, "Focused."
Cool.
"Reliable." Wang Yibo smirked. "Too nice." "Talks fast." "Good cook." The comment caught Zhan off guard. "You've never eaten my food," he protested, laughing. Wang Yibo's reply was quiet but sharp. "You told me about it so many times. I feel like I have." The audience roared. But what fans noticed most was how naturally they teased each other, like longtime friends rather than co-stars fresh out of filming. Between questions, the camera caught Zhan nudging Wang Yibo's arm lightly, a small gesture that said, "Relax, it's fun." And Wang Yibo, who was known for keeping a stoic face, visibly eased up. His shoulders dropped, his expression softened, and for a fleeting second, he even laughed, a real, unguarded laugh that fans still replay in slow motion. That was the magic. Not scripted jokes or rehearsed banter, just two people finding their comfort zone in each other's presence. Another unforgettable scene came from a live Q&A session. The host asked them to compliment one another, and Zhan, always thoughtful, said, "He's the kind of person who never gives up. Even if no one's watching, he still gives his best." Wang Yibo nodded once, as if accepting it without needing to say much. When his turn came, he simply said, "He's dependable. If you need him, he'll show up." There was a long pause after that. Zhan looked genuinely touched, smiling quietly. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke, and that silence said more than 100 lines of dialogue ever could. The crowd felt it too. It wasn't romantic, it wasn't dramatic, it was real. Two young actors, recognizing something sincere in each other amid the chaos of fame. Fans soon began noticing tiny patterns. The way Wang Yibo would glance at Zhan before answering a question, as if checking his reaction. The way Zhan would unconsciously mirror Yibo's posture, leaning when he leaned, smiling when he smirked. These little reflections weren't planned. They were the natural rhythm of two personalities syncing without effort. One fan-captured clip shows them sitting at a press conference table. The moderator announces a short break. Zhan reaches for his water bottle, but before he can open it, Wang Yibo silently hands him his own, already opened. Zhan blinks, surprised, but accepts it with a smile. He doesn't say thank you. He doesn't need to. That gesture becomes one of the earliest blink-and-you'll-miss-it fan favorites, a moment of quiet care caught on camera. As media coverage intensified, both stars began to navigate the whirlwind of attention. Reporters often pushed them for headlines. Who's the leader? Who's the funnier one? Do you ever argue? In one particular interview, the host jokingly asked, if you had to survive together on a deserted island, who would be in charge? Without missing a beat, Zhan said, he would. He's more practical. Wang Yibo shook his head. No. He'd talk to the coconuts and make friends. Laughter exploded across the room, but what made it unforgettable was the playful glance they shared afterward, a quick meeting of eyes, half challenge, half affection. Fans later dubbed it the coconut look, a phrase still used years later in fandom threads. What truly defined those early interviews wasn't just their humor, it was the subtle sense of understanding that kept building between them. Zhan often filled the silences, protecting Yibo from the weight of rapid-fire questions, while Yibo, in turn, grounded the energy, keeping things calm and composed. They balanced each other like sunlight and shadow, neither dimming the other, both shining brighter together. In one behind-the-scenes clip, after an exhausting round of press, Zhan slumped back in his chair and sighed. Wang Yibo, standing beside him, nudged his shoulder lightly and handed him a snack from the catering tray. No words, just that small act and a faint, knowing smile that crossed between them. Cameras caught it from afar, and within hours, screenshots of that moment spread across fan pages with captions like, "This is friendship in its purest form." Looking back, those early interviews were more than media appearances. They were the seeds of a phenomenon. Every laugh, every shared glance, every whispered comment built the foundation of what fans would later call the storm. It wasn't chaos, it was connection. Two people meeting at exactly the right time in their careers, balancing each other perfectly, unknowingly creating a cultural wave that would ripple across borders. The fans could feel it, that rare chemistry that can't be faked, the kind of bond that turns colleagues into something deeper, quieter, and lasting. When they said goodbye after those first tours, you could already sense it. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of something that would live on in rewatches, edits, and memories. Even now, years later, when old clips resurface, The comments are filled with the same awe. Still iconic. They didn't even have to speak. This chemistry was once in a lifetime. And maybe that's the truth. Some storms never really pass. They just settle in the hearts of those who witness them. Outro for narration. If you felt the spark of those early moments, the laughter, the quiet glances, the beginning of a storm that changed everything, make sure to like, share, and comment your favorite Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo interview moment below.